Safety indicators and adverse effects. Blood samples were collected by venipuncture for liver and renal function, full blood count, calcium and vitamin D, prolactin, adrenal, androgens, and thyroid function. Participants were routinely questioned about adverse effects at medical clinic visits, including anticipated events such as headaches, hot flushes, or fatigue, plus any other unanticipated events. Okay, I understand. Psychological function. Psychological outcomes included a clinical outcome routinely collected after GIDS appointments and a range of outcomes assessed using questionnaires. A standardized set of psychological questionnaires used in the GIDS clinic was completed at the time young people were deemed potentially eligible and referred to the medical clinic. Questionnaires were completed at home by the young person and parent between GIDS clinic meetings, and the research assistant followed up families to ensure their completion. Questionnaires were repeated approximately every 12 months on treatment. Okay. General psychological functioning. The Child Behavior Checklist, CBCL, Parent Report, and Youth Self-Report, YSR Self-Report, are general measures of psychological functioning and part of the Achenbach system of empirically based assessment. The CBCL consists of 113 questions and is validated for children aged 6 to 18 years in international population samples. Okay, we continue. Questions in both are scored on a 3-point Likert scale. 0, absent, 1, occurs sometimes, 2, often occurs. With the time frame for item responses being the past 6 months, scoring for both instruments provides a total problem score and internalizing problem score. Items which assess anxious, depressed, withdrawn, depressed, and somatic complaints, and an externalizing score focusing on rule breaking and aggressive behaviors. Each questionnaire was scored with assessment data manager software using ASEBA standard norms, and these scores were generated based on reference data for birth, registered sex, and broad age ranges, here 12 to 18 years. Higher scores indicate greater morbidity. To account for normative change within our age range, we used international reference data to transform YSR raw scores into z-scores for year of age. As reference data from the UK were not available, reference data from both Australia and Netherlands were used. Okay. Next, self-harm index. Self-harm actions and thoughts were assessed through 2 questions in each of the CBCL. Parent report, YCR, self-report, item, deliberately try to hurt or kill myself. And item 91, I think about killing myself. Possible responses for each question were 0, not true, 1, somewhat or sometimes true, 2, very true or often true. We followed previous studies in calculating self-harm index score to avoid multiple statistical comparisons across correlated categorical response variables. The index was calculated as the sum of the two items in each scale to create an index from 0 to 4 for each of the CBCL and YSR 30-32, a higher score indicating greater self-harm thoughts and behavior. Health-related quality of life. This was assessed through separate young person and parent-kid screen 52 questionnaires, each consisting of 52 items which assess HRQOL across the dimensions physical well-being, psychological well-being, moods and emotions, self-perception, autonomy, relations with parents and home life, social support and peers, school environment, social acceptance, bullying. I'll depart with my phone lost connection. Need to go downstairs and help my mom with laundry, I'll return though. Yeah, thank you, and have fun helping your mom, okay? Your mom is great and you're great as well. Thank you for being here. The measure was developed for young people, aged 18, with the recall period of 1 week. The questionnaires provide scores in the form of continuous T-scores for the 10 subscales derived from multinational European sample. Lower scores indicate lower HRQOL, a greater morbidity. Okay. Body image. We go to the body image section. The body image scale, BIS, is a self-report measure of 30 items used to assess body image satisfaction or dissatisfaction, validated for age 12+. The instrument considers 30 body features which the respondent is asked to rate in terms of satisfaction of a 5-point scale: 1 very satisfied, 2 satisfied, 3 neutral, 4 dissatisfied, 5 and 5 very dissatisfied. The BIS provides a total score in the form of continuous score for the total scale as well as for 3 subscales assessing primary sexual characteristics, secondary sexual characteristics, and neutral characteristics, i.e. non-sexual characteristics. Example: nose. Higher scores represent higher degrees of body dissatisfaction. Gender dysphoria. The Utrecht Gender Dysphoria Scale is a self-report measure used to assess the intensity of gender dysphoria, validated for age 12+, and it comprises of self-statements with agreement on a 5-point scale: 1 agree completely, 2 agree somewhat, 3 neutral, 4 disagree somewhat, and 5 disagree completely. There are separate versions of birth registered males and females. Items are summed to give a total score, with higher scores indicating greater GD. Clinical outcomes. There we go. We have reached this part of the study. The Children's Global Assessment Scale, CGIS, is a rating of functioning in children and young people aged 6-17 years, extensively used as routine clinical measure in child and adolescent mental health services in the UK. Treating clinicians assign young people a single score between 1 and 100 based on a clinician's assessment of a range of aspects related to a child's psychological and social functioning, with the time period being the previous month. Highest score indicate better functioning, with categories ranging from extremely impaired 110 to doing very well 91 100. Participant experience and satisfaction with GNRHA. Young people were invited to participate in semi-structured qualitative interviews at 6, 15 months, and 15, 24 months after starting a GnRHA. Interviews were conducted in person or by telephone with a research assistant. If young people were unavailable, questions were posted to be completed and returned. The interview consisted of 12 questions related to changes young people had experienced in 10 domains since starting on GnRHA: life, overall memory, focus, sense of direction, mood, energy levels, relationships with friends, relationships with family, gender role and sexuality. For each domain, young people were asked first about the general direction of change in that domain, whether changes were positive, neutral, negative, or mixed positive and negative, and then asked for examples of changes experienced and why they assigned the chosen range rating. At the end of the interview, 2 further questions were asked about change in any other experiences, i.e., allowing open-ended responses on whether young people wish to continue on GnRHA treatment. Note there was no interview conducted before young people started GnRHA. Interviews were recorded in contemporaries written notes by the researcher. The questionnaire is provided in the S1 appendix. Okay. Further treatment decisions. Decisions made at the end of a GnRHA pathway were recorded in terms of which, if any, further treatment for gender dysphoria young people chose. Note that other measures of gender dysphoria, gender identity interview recalled, childhood gender identity scale were specified in our original protocol. However, they were discontinued during the study as A. They were historical instruments with poor construct validity, and the binary references to male and female roles were challenging for some participants, and B. Repeated questioning about gender dysphoria resulted in some distress to respondents. Our protocol had originally included the ASEBA teacher report form, TRF. However, we were unable to obtain data from teachers, so this outcome was dropped. The Social Responsiveness Scale, SRS, was a baseline-only assessment of autistic traits. These data will be analyzed in the future. Let me see further. Ethics. Yeah, these are very interesting things. And so far, this study that they have linked themselves does not show that puberty blockers have themselves affected the children in any way when it comes to their choice of continuing and going on to transition. So, let me see. Results. Participants received psychological assessment and support with the GIDS before entering the study for a median of 2 years. The median between first medical assessment at UCLH and starting treatment was 3.9 months. 3.9 months. Median time in the study was 31 months. Based on characteristics of the participants by birth, registered sex are shown in Table 1. Age at consent was 13.6 years. A total of 25 were birth registered as male and 43% as female. As study entry birth registered males were predominantly in stage 3 puberty, whilst birth registered females were predominantly in the stages 4 or 5, with 79% post-menarcheal, 89% of participants were white ethnically, birth-registered females were on average 6 months older than birth-registered males at study entry. I will keep the VAR up, yes. Will keep the VAR up because I want to go through it with a Google Doc and compile on words. Yeah, I will definitely keep the VAR up. I will upload this like as part 1 of our research streaming, you know. We will post the links as well. I actually will post the links to this in the chat right now. This is the research. We are just starting our research arc. I really, really, really encourage you as well to discuss this in the research, in the research channel on the Discord. We're just getting started, with this. We're really gonna dig into this and debunk this page. Responses to treatment. All participants achieved adequate suppression of gonadotropins and sex hormones by 6 months and maintained it through the study. Liver function basis, basic hematology and biochemistry were normal in all participants at 6 months. All post-menarcheal birth registered females reported amenorrhea in the 3 months after starting GnRHA treatment and remained so throughout treatment. What is amenorrhea? Let's see. We will look up this. What is amenorrhea? It means the lack of. Okay, I understand. Amenorrhea just means lack of a period. This is what amenorrhea means. And then remained so throughout treatment. No participants reported progression in pubertal development. So basically what this is saying that the puberty blockers worked and the puberty was in fact blocked. Height and weight were normal at baseline. Height growth continued through the study but more slowly than expected for age. Thus, height z-score fell over time. Weight and BMI z-scores were stable from baseline to 24 months but increased at 36 months. 3 participants had brief periods of GnRHA prior to their 16th birthday. In one, treatment was withdrawn by clinicians due to non-attendance at clinics and restarted 4 months later. Another requested a period of off GnRHA to think further about treatment in view of other things happening in their life. They restarted 4 months later. A third birth-registered male stopped GnRHA for 9 months to attempt to store sperm, contrary to their earlier decision not to, and restarted afterwards. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, if someone thinks that they might want to have children in the future, right? I mean, did it ever cross the authors of the article mind that there isn't so many continue with HRTs because they are trans? Yeah, exactly. It has done nothing to do with puberty blockers magically brainwashing kids and just that they get older and want to further their gender affirmation. And actually, I will go in further. If 98% of children just go on to transition, then they should be just allowed to transition from the get-go, 98% is a very high number, and it basically means that a child that goes to, for the puberty blockers is almost most definitely trans and should be able to just transition, median age at the end of the GnRHA pathway was 16.1 years, table 1. A quarter of participants made their decisions more than 6 months later. Either because they wished to delay due to school, exams, or other events, or because clinicians felt they were not yet ready to make the decision. One young person decided to stop GnRHA and not start cross-sex hormones due to continued uncertainty and some concerns about side effects to cross-sex hormones. This is very interesting. So, even the person that decided not to transition, they did not do it because they decided they were not trans. They did it because they had concerns about the side effects of transitioning. Like, wow, this basically just said that the children that do not decide to continue and transition are just afraid of transition, not that they are not trans at all. Like, I did not expect this, okay? Due to continued uncertainty and some, the remaining 98% elected to start cross-sex hormones. So the one child that decided not to transition basically decided not to transition because of fear of side effects, not because of not being trans. So, wow, okay, wow. Yeah, legit, their studies are garbo or are in our favor, literally. And they themselves post the link to the studies. We are not looking at some sort of like studies that we have brought forward yet. We are looking at the studies that this page has linked. Interesting. Bone mineral density. Bone mineral density was available on 44 participants at baseline, 43 at 12 months, 24 at 24 months, and 12 at 36 months. Numbers were lower for hip than for spine, as some hip scans were not done for technical reasons. The table shows mean values as baseline and 12, 24, 36 months, along with mean baseline values corresponding to the paired samples at each time point. There was no change from baseline in spine or hip at 12 months, nor in hip at 24 and 36 months. But 24 months, lumbar spine BMC and BMD were higher than at baseline, as was lumbar BMC at 36 months. Lumbar and hip BMD age-adjusted z-scores were in the normal range at baseline, but point estimates fell at 12 and 24 months, but not at 36 months. Point estimates for height adjusted z-scores for lumbar and hip BMD also fell at 12 months and 24 months, but not at 36 months. Okay. Psychological outcomes. This is actually interesting because this is what they are banking on. Let's face it, transphobia is so stupid, and stupid people carry transphobic sentiments. They have an irrational fear of us, and instead of educating themselves or taking time to actually talk with us, they look for biased evidence to fit their views, which again are irrational. So of course they have no real claims, and any of the ones they make will be garbo. Yeah. Or they will just, link studies that points to the opposite of what they claim. For the standardized questionnaires, baseline assessments were conducted at median of 0.5 years before starting treatment, and were available for all 44 participants by self-report and 43 by parental report. Data on CBCL YSR, and the CBCL and YSR self-harm indices were skewed. The first psychological follow-up was at median of 13 IQR 12-14 months after start of treatment with ASEBA data available for 41 participants. ASEBA data at 24 months were available on 20 young people by parent report and 15 by self-report at 36 months. On 11 by parent report and 6 by self-report. Formal testing was undertaken only by key ASEBA outcomes. For the CBCL total T-scores, there was no change from baseline to 12, 24, or 36 months. Similarly, for the YSR total T-score, there was no change from baseline to 12 or 24 months. YSR data at 26 months, 36 months were not analyzed. There were no significant changes in parent report CBCL self-harm index scores from baseline to 12, 24, or 36 months, nor for self-report YSR self-harm index scores. There we go. We have even... This is well done. Well done. The pre-specified outcomes of BMD and lumbar spine. Okay. Other psychological outcomes are described in Table 5. Point estimates or scores on the kidney. Baseline. Okay. 41 participants completed the interviews at 6 and 15 months, 90, 29, and 15, 24 months. 3 missed both. Figure 1 shows proportions with positive or negative changes for life, overall mood, and friendships with summary data for all questions shown. Let's see the image. Okay, let's look at this. Overall score. Six, 15 months, 15, 24 months. Mood. Yeah! You know what? It seems that it had positive results psychologically. What do you know? This is not very... Most participants reported positive or a mix of positive negative changes in their life at both time periods. At 6, 15 months, 46% reported only positive changes, including feeling happier, relieved, less facial hair, or stopping periods. At further, 47% reported both positive and negative changes, such as feeling happier, but also experiencing hot flushes and headaches. So they were happier, but they had headaches. So in other words, yeah, it is. It basically contradicts what they claim. Yeah, their own research. Isn't this interesting? Like, this is why it's really worth to click on the links and actually read the studies, because oftentimes they will just contradict their claims. That this is what usually happens when you actually read what they link. So The further 70% reported both positive and negative changes, such as feeling happier, but also experiencing hot flashes and headaches. So basically, even the lower percent was still happy but had headaches. In addition, 12% reported overall negative changes, namely hot flashes, tiredness, and feeling more emotional. Okay. While 5% reported no change. So none of them reported feeling less happy. Okay? At 15 to 24 months, 55% reported solely positive changes, such as feeling happier, no longer experiencing side effects, and feeling more comfortable with puberty suspended. At a further 17% reported both positive and negative changes, including less body hair but continued growth in height, or having clearer skin but also experiencing more hunger, weight gain, and tiredness. 17% reported largely negative changes such as mood swings, tiredness, and hot flashes, with 10% reporting no change. So even later, most of them were still happy. Reports of changes in mood were mixed at 16-50 months. The majority reported mood to be improved, 49%, mixed changes such as both feeling happier but experiencing some mood swings, 15%, or no change, 77%. However, 24% reported negative changes in mood, such as experiencing more mood swings or feeling low. Findings at 15-24 months were similar. The most common negative change was reduced energy levels, reported by 29%, 9-15 months, and 38% at 15-24 months. Okay, I understand. So lower energy is like the biggest negative thing.